It's showtime, folks. Welcome in Chase and Big Joe, 1025, 1063, the game here on this Wednesday. He's Big Joe. I'm Chase McCabe. Dr. Crane Nick Frazier with an excellent hairdo today on the ones and twos. What's up, JoJo?
Yeah, look, my man, looking good today.
You know what? Dr. Crane is the perfect example. Dress for the job you want, not for the job you have.
Hey, that's a good way to look at it.
Us.
We gave up a long time ago.
I did. I gave up a long time ago.
I mean, Joe, you do a pretty good job with your hair.
Yeah, I thank you.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? This is crazy. I work more on my hair now than I do when I had hair because I got to shave it. It's got to be perfect. I can't have like one side. Nothing looks worse than a Mr. Burns haircut or a Shakespeare or
The
whatever.
Friar tuck.
Yes, it looks terrible. Or you got I worked with guys had the comb over them, and I would like, what are you doing? Like, what do you mean? I'm like, just shave it. Just shave your head. It's okay. It's okay. It'll be fine.
Just curious, what car wax do you use?
Car wax?
Like for the top here?
Cordoba?
Okay, just to make sure it buffs out right.
Yeah, it does. It works out fine.
I did that once.
Talking
I did it one year for my uncle. I gave it to him as a Christmas gift. It's a little gag gift,
Oh, really?
like car buff. Buff your
Yeah.
head, shine.
I'd take one of those. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Homer, did you put your head in the Balo Shino?
I can't tell how many times I've cut my head and bled everywhere. So that's always been fun too as well. So
Oh,
if you're on the fence, just shave your head. Just shave it. It's fine. It'll be fine. Nothing looks worse than hair and a big old bald spot with hair around it. It's terrible. So just shave it. And you look. You got confidence. You are who you are. Be proud of who you are, and just do it. Get it done.
You think it makes you look younger?
There's nothing can help me. No.
Okay.
No, probably not. Now I'm worried about bags under my eyes. That's the problem now. You guys don't have that. I mean,
I have that.
I'm expecting to get a check.
And I know why I have that.
I'm expecting to get a check from American Airlines. My bags are so bad. I mean, they're just awful. So, but it's part of growing up, growing older, whatever, growing up.
615-737-1025 is our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We already have a text, 8042. Just to confirm our meeting today, I've not heard back about an address.
Just write back and say yes.
Yes, we're good to go.
And give him the address of the station down the street. And ask for Buck. We'll be waiting on you.
I was gonna say give him the Titans address and ask for Amy.
Oh man, you do that as well. Look, I've already got a question for today.
Okay.
I've had Dr. Crane, you weigh on this. I've had a very eventful morning. Went to the gym. Before I got to the gym, like a minute before I got to the gym, a giant deer crashed through the gym this morning.
What?
And the video, Jennifer Waddell, I called her at Fox 17. It's like their breaking news story all morning, and there's video there. So my question is, have you ever had a run-in with a deer? I mean, have you ever avoided one? Has it hit your car? I had a friend from high school that a deer came through the windshield and killed his wife.
Oh my.
So these aren't joking matters with these deer.
No.
So luckily the treadmills are usually packed at the gym. There was nobody on the tread. They had just gotten off, and the deer, you'll see the video, comes crashing through. Had you been on that treadmill?
I have questions. Like I don't understand.
It crossed Lebanon Road, came out of the woods, and just made a beeline straight for deers are deer. A deer is dumb.
Yeah.
Right? They are dumb.
Is the deer still with us?
The deer was trapped in the bathroom.
Okay.
And and God bless the men and women in the police department, because they showed up to help out, and the TWRA showed up, and they're able to get the deer and take it out back, release it out but the deer was fine.
Oh, okay, good. So the deer's
fine. They release it back out to the woods. I mean, I don't, do you mercy kill it? I don't, but the deer was fine. I don't know anything about a deer.
No, I mean, I think they did the right thing, letting him back.
Yeah. So have you ever, I mean, 615-737-1025.
Yeah, I mean, I had one like literally jump over my car one time.
I'm scared.
Yeah.
What'd you do? I mean, did you stop? Did you pull over? I mean, I'd been freaking out.
Went home and changed my shorts.
Ma!
I mean, yeah, well, and look, where I live, I mean, I'll pull up on my property and there's 10 hanging out.
I wouldn't go more than 30 miles an hour.
Oh yeah, I go at night on my road. And there are people that like I guess they've just lived there for years that they'll do 75 or whatever. Not really, but I mean they go fast. And so they kind of get mad, but I'm like, one, I just got a new car. I don't want to put a buck on the hood. A different buck. but
You can put that buck on. You wouldn't mind. Wouldn't mind at all.
There's a few people that might want to mount him on their wall.
Yeah, right.
I don't know.
You had me at mount. Keith Bullock would too, wouldn't he? Keith Bullock would put him up there.
Anywho,
So I'm just Dr. Crane. You had a run-in with the deer?
I have not personally for a car purpose, but yes, in the backyard multiple times.
So what? They chase after you?
No, not necessarily. I just look at them, and then like if they grunt at me, I grunt back at them, so they wouldn't like charge at me. And they just see that we have a peach tree, and I don't know why somebody gave us this peach tree. I think as when my grandfather passed away, they gave us a peach tree. So, anyways, it's in our backyard. We planted it, and now every single time it's rutting season, they just rut, onto the tree, so it kills the tree. And so every time they get around there, I go out there with some pots and pans and start clacking at it. I'm like, listen, stop, and they just run away.
So, but you said you grunt at them,
Like, like that, stuff like that.
what?
I try to, void them off, whatever you can do. Just make
You
noises.
are the most interesting man in the
You truly
in the
are.
world.
That's not a joke.
No,
No,
I'm
no.
dead serious. I have pictures of deer on my phone because they're either in the front yard or the backyard.
I just yell at him and be like, "What's up, fam?" And they
Right?
kind of look at me.
Can
and they're
you
like,
spray
What?
something on the tree to not let?
Yes. So there is like a deer repellent. My brother was pretty good with archery, and so he goes deer hunting from time to time. Not often, but from time to time.
Them? Yeah.
He has a nice combat bow, and he bought some like deer spray. I guess maybe it's urine. I don't know what it is, but it voids them away from going towards the plants. So
Okay.
yeah.
So does he shoot at the deer or shoot?
No, not in
towards
our
the deer?
backyard. No. I'm
Okay.
just saying when he does go out, and hunt, that's what he does.
All right, man.
But when they're in the backyard, no, that's off.
Yeah, they just hang out.
Yeah.
I mean, like at my house, it's kind of fun to watch them hang out in the mornings.
Have
Like-
they ever chased or charged you or anything?
No, they're on my land, so I charge them.
See, he's right. And just grunt at him.
I charge them. No, I charge them rent. That's what I'm talking about.
With Chase does that grunt, the neighbor's like, Chase tying his shoes again. It's bending over to tie his shoes. Oh, man.
I was cooking one morning and a blue like hawk, I think is what it was, flew right over my left shoulder and it freaked me out. Thought it was going out to kill me.
A blue hawk.
Yeah, I think it was just a regular hawk, but it had like a blue tint to it.
And what, he just flying around?
We have this like metal pot that sits on top of like a wall, and I guess we have like chipmunks underneath the grill, and probably should clean this out, but nonetheless, it flew right behind us or behind me, and I was freaking out. I ran inside. I didn't want to die.
Have you ever cooked a chipmunk
No, I don't think you're allowed to do that, Joe.
on your griddle?
No, you can't do that.
Okay. I don't know. I just,
I think that's illegal in 6 different countries.
I don't know. I mean, animals do it, right?
Yeah.
So who knows? All right.
Anyway, 615.
Hey, how about that college football top 12, Chase?
Oh, yeah. How about it? Tom Luganville is going to join us at 10:30 today, so we'll get his thoughts on that.
Pulled one out of the hat on that guy.
Yeah, that was good.
As I tell people, it's not what you know, it's all about who you know.
Yeah. Well, that'll be good. We'll get his thoughts on that and much more with college football. And then 9:30, John McClain, per usual, our conversation with him. 10 o'clock, Derek Mason, MTSU football coach. So we have a lot going on. Usually we have a Preds player around now. Roman Yossi will actually join the midday show DVD today because of the time change being on the West Coast. So
Play Seattle tonight.
Seattle tonight. And so look forward to hearing from the captain with DVD.
So they need a win to come back, finish strong on the road.
Yeah.
trip.
I mean, if you come back with points out of in 4 out of 5 games, I would say that's a pretty good road trip, including 2 wins.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
if you get 2 wins and then you had 2 overtime losses and 1 regulation loss, that's not awful. That's something to build on.
Oh, I totally agree.
So, but yeah, no, a win, a regulation win tonight, like they had the other night, is what they need to close out this road trip.
Our friend Greg Pogue texting us this
Oh
morning.
yeah, no, that was
Hope Greg's
hi
doing well.
Gregory.
Hope he's doing well for all that. Yeah.
Hi Gregory. 615-737-1025. That is our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. We're up and running here on this Wednesday. Chasing Big Joe, 1025-1063 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We're broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville Studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Dr. Crane bringing it today. Let's go.
Is this who is this?
The Gap Band.
I thought so.
This is good stuff right here. That's for sure. College football rankings came out last night. This is so confusing. I mean, like, I understand it, but I also get confused by it at the same time, because if you just look at the top 12, then you're going to go, okay, all right, there you go. Those are the 12 teams that are in. And you look at number 11 in that top 12 and go, all right, Tennessee's in. Cool, great, everything's fine. But because they are guaranteeing 5 conference champions get in, or in right now they're basing that on the team that is first in the conference. Tennessee is actually the first team out of the 12-team playoff, because even though BYU lost, they are still considered to be the 5th highest ranked conference leading team. So they are the 12th seed, and Georgia is the 11th seed.
It is confusing. But if it stayed like it is right now, could you imagine Alabama at Notre Dame in late December, Georgia at Penn State late December, and you look at Ohio State right now, it's 5. If they beat Indiana, of course, it probably, I don't know if they'd move up or not. But
Well, no, because Oregon beat them.
Or I'm sorry, yeah, Oregon beat them, right? So if you stay at 5, 5 always is going to beat 12. Ohio State would kill BYU.
Yeah,
Then their next opponent would be Boise State.
they'll kill Boise.
Yeah. So being the 5th seed's there, but for Tennessee, win the next 2. Look, I think Indiana's gone after Saturday. I think Ohio State's going to beat the you-know-what out of them. They're gone. They haven't played a team. They haven't played a top 7 team in the Big Ten. It's not their fault. It's the schedule is what the schedule is. But Indiana plays Ohio State. If Ohio State can drop 50 on, which I think they will, then they're gone. Then Tennessee moves in when the next 2 you're in the playoffs.
Right.
But you don't control your destiny, which stinks.
Yeah, and I mean, I think now, the odds of Tennessee, they have an odd, next to Tennessee, they have the odds of making the conference championship game 0.3%. So they're not doing that. But, if they can find themselves at least in a position to host a first round game,
yeah,
I think they're okay. Alabama, Notre Dame at Notre Dame. That's a matchup right now. I think everybody's going to look at where Notre Dame is and dream a little bit for whatever that matchup's going to be. But you have BYU at Ohio State, Alabama at Notre Dame, Georgia at Penn State, Ole Miss at Indiana. As of right now, the first round bye, Oregon at 1, Texas at 2, Miami 3, Boise 4.
Yeah, but it'll change. I mean, it's going to change, right?
Do we okay, so here's my question. Obviously, for us, it's good. It gives us something to talk about. Do we like the weekly rankings that they do?
Yes.
I think it's kind of fun to see how it changes.
It is.
And it also gives you a little bit of the mindset of the committee, as they put this together.
I do. I like chaos. And right now we got chaos, and old Sankey talked about, let's talk about what's happening in late November, early December. And he's right. And now, instead of the same old 4 teams you usually get, now we got 12 teams with 2 more looking in, trying to get in. But let me ask this hypothetical, which we always love to do this. Say Indiana beats Ohio State. Ohio State's got 2 losses. Do they get bounced out? They're to Oregon and Indiana.
I don't know how you could bounce them out. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, you look at, they've created, and this goes back to an age-old discussion. Should a conference champion get an automatic bid? Now, I can make an argument for yes, especially with a 12-team playoff.
Right.
But I can also make an argument, well, when you do that, especially if you're going to put a group of 5 in, which I have said for years, the group of 5 deserves something, but putting a member of the group of 5, which in this case is Boise, in with the big dogs is they're going to get eaten. It's like Cincinnati a few years ago. It was awesome to see them in there, But at the time, now they're in the Big 12, so you're going to see them hopefully grow. But at the time, you knew they were going to get slaughtered, and they did.
How?
Create a group of 5 champion.
Okay, I thought the group of 5 was the automatic 5th seed. I didn't think they get the top 4.
Well, it's the highest ranked. They have basically.
I'm
it's,
so confused.
It's the highest ranked conference champion, and they have ranked because BYU lost. They have Boise ranked higher than BYU, and so even though BYU is representing the Big 12, since Boise is ranked higher, they get the 4th seed.
I mean, truly, my head hurts.
Yeah,
looking through all this.
But do you not agree? Just keep 12 teams like this.
Okay,
but take the group of 5 out and let them do their own thing.
No.
Do a group of 5 playoff.
No, not at all.
Why? Why does everybody want to fight me on this? I think Boise's a great story. They're going to get their ass beat. They don't belong with the big boys.
I think group of 5 teams belong. One belongs.
Just to get slaughtered?
No, I mean, one belongs.
Okay, so you're going to just, have a moral victory. Hey, we made it. We lost 56-0 to Alabama, but
give
we
me
made
a group of 5 team besides Cincinnati who's been able to prove that. Boise beat Oklahoma in the Fiesta. I know it was 20 years ago. I get it.
Well, they didn't put UCF in, and they claimed the national championship, but I mean, but still, if UCF had made it that year, I know they beat Auburn, but Auburn was checked out at that point.
I blame Auburn for all that. If Auburn would just beat UCF, it would have shut them up and not done anything.
But my thing is, we have a Division II playoff. We have a FCS playoff. Why can't we have a group of 5 playoff?
Because no.
It would open up so many doors for so many kids and so many programs.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Nobody would care about that. Nobody would care.
In the mainstream world, no, you're right. They wouldn't. But at the same time, if you go to a team that we don't care about the NIT, but do you go to that team that won the NIT? They care.
Yeah, but nobody else cares.
Well,
so
I just
look, man, your passion is compelling. It's not going to happen because it's just the way it is. Then you lump group of 5 in with the FCS. There's no difference to all that. I think Tulane could beat half the SEC right now. I think Army could beat half the SEC right now. And that's the beauty of all this. So let the one group of 5 team get into the party. It's not like Animal House when you go into the party and they shove you to the back room. You come in and see what you can do. I like it. It's just one team. Whoever gets the one team, if they get beat by 90, get beat by 90. I don't mind the one group of 5 team getting in at all. I don't, especially this year. There's so much parity now in college football with Tulane and Boise State and all those teams. I don't mind it.
Dustin in Hopkinsville says, I hear you on Boise State, but you have to keep it to all the teams in because one of these upcoming years, a lower level team will upset an SEC team and go far. You're probably right.
I see it. Well, as of right now, no SEC team is hosting a playoff game. They're all on the road.
Yeah. 0975 says, as an Oklahoma fan, they've said Boise State doesn't belong before. Yeah, well. I think
you're onto something to Chase, because say if a G5 school or multiple G5 schools were competing for that 12th spot, what if they did a play-in, like their own little small tournament, and whoever wins that gets that 12th seed?
If you did,
I don't mind that.
Okay, you do a 4-team group of 5 playoff, and the winner that gets into the big dance.
I like one game.
You're adding games,
1 versus 2. Look,
okay, or you could do that.
You got to so they're going to be conference championships play. Why not have the group of 5 play that week? I think that's a little bit better.
Yeah,
I'd love to see Boise take on Tulane or Boise take on Army. That'd be a hell of a. I'd watch that.
Yeah.
The winner gets that. So you get 2 teams competing. I don't mind that. I'll take that.
Okay, but I'll compromise on that. That's not a bad idea. You do a 1 the 1 versus 2 during conference. If you're going to keep the conference championships, you do that, and then you have them get in.
Okay. But don't shun them like Dwight Schrute did with Andy.
Well,
Bernard.
and I'm not saying shun them. I'm just saying make it, a fair, more of a fair fight.
Unshunned. Yeah. I mean, I'm with you on that. And that's it. We're talking about this besides talking about Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, Ohio State in the Final Four. I mean, now you got some little good competitions going to get these teams to get farther into the 8th.
Okay, so here's my question to you right now today. If you were on the committee, you were to say, and I were to ask you, give me the best 4 teams in college football Who would they be?
Right now, I'll go Oregon.
Okay.
I'll go Texas.
Yep.
I'll go Alabama.
Okay.
And I'll go Georgia.
Okay. Don't you think that it's probably going to turn out that the Final Four is going to be the Final Four that it always would have been?
Yeah, but we don't have to put it that way. We
No,
can
but
just-
I mean, like that,
right.
that's my point. Because I would say right now today, as much as I hate to say this, Penn State's probably in this discussion, but
They haven't played anybody.
I know. But yeah.
Look
I
at
know.
Georgia's strength of
Yeah.
schedule.
No, I agree.
Now, here's the deal with strength of schedule. You just can't go 4-8 like, well, we have the second best strength of
no,
schedule.
you can't do that. You got to win that. You got to win some of those games.
Right, but I think it matters. Penn State's played nobody. Indiana has played no one. And that's why I'm hoping Ohio State drops 50 on them.
Yeah. Well, somebody just said the SEC's leveled out. Dustin said that. I don't think it's necessarily leveled out. It's just they're cannibalizing themselves.
Yep.
That's what it is. And that was always going to be the problem
Right.
that nobody wanted to talk about.
You were
But that
absolutely
is
correct
what
on
it
that.
is. We'll get more into this later with Tom Luganville. He will join us. But coming up next, our weekly conversation with John McClain from Houston. HoustonTexans.com is where you can find his work. He will join us next. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
She's a bad mama down.
Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game here on this Wednesday. Every Wednesday at this time, we talk to John McClain. HoustonTexans.com is where you can find his work. He's brought to you by 12 Stones Crossing Golf Club in Goodlettsville. Visit 12stonesgolfclub.com to book your tee time. Experience golf the 12 Stones way. John, good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
We are fantastic. So just kind of looking through the 25 modern era semifinalists that just came out for the Hall of Fame. There's a name that I mean, it's going to be a discussion because of the position that he played, but Adam Vinatieri is a surefire Hall of Famer. Is he not? I mean, I feel like he should be.
Well, I'm voting for him, and I'm going to vote for him all the way as long as he's in there, because his role in the Patriots dynasty, they won their first 3 Super Bowls by 3 points, and he won 2 of them. And in that Chuck game, in which he kicked in the snow, tying and winning field goals, was as good a performance as I've ever seen by a kicker. And it's interesting because when he left New England, because he was making too much money, he was smart enough to go to Indianapolis so he could kick indoors. And when I'm voting for kickers, the guys that kick indoors compared to the guys who pick in outdoors, especially in the Northeast, that to me is much more difficult and much more impressive. So I'll be stunned if he doesn't make it on the first ballot, the first kicker in history. I wasn't on the committee when Jan Stenerud went in the 70s or whenever it was, and I don't know if he made it on the first ballot. He certainly should have. I don't think I would have voted him into the Hall of Fame, but to me, Vinatieri is a no-brainer.
I think the one that, and I'd be curious of your thoughts, actually, being a voter, but Eli Manning gets a little bit of discussion because I think he's a Hall of Famer, but there's some that are saying that he's a Hall of very, very good. Kind of, where are you on that?
Well, it's interesting because Eli made big plays in Super Bowls, but if you look at his body of work over regular seasons, as far as all pros, winning records and all that, it doesn't match up. But I don't think he's a first ballot. To me, first ballot Hall of Famers, when you study them, they've got to be guys you don't have questions about. Like I would have no problem whatsoever putting guard Marshall Yonda and linebacker Luke Kuechly in on the first ballot to get to that point. But if they have to wait, that's no problem, because we have guys who are very, very worthy who've had to wait a long time, and they're really good. Like Eric Allen, the cornerback, he's been a semifinalist 5 times. I think he's deserving. Defensive end Jared Allen, one of the great pass rushers in history, he's been a semifinalist 5 times. I believe that Antonio Gates will be a unanimous. I mean, not unanimous, that he'll be in on his second year of eligibility. In fact, because knowing how close he came last year, and I was scared to death that he was going to be a lock, and a receiver like Andre Johnson would be penalized because of Antonio Gates going in, even though he was a tight end. But I'll be stunned if he doesn't make it this year. And at some point, with great receivers, Reggie Wayne and Torrey Holt, who went against Andre Johnson the last 3 years, I believe they'll be in, just not sure when it'll be.
I asked this question, with a ton of respect for you and the committee, but if Eli's last name was Smith, would this be a different conversation?
There's other quarterbacks who've won 2 Super Bowls, Jim Plunkett, for instance, but even though he played great at that time, he was not a consistently great player. And there's going to be a lot of discussion about Eli. But if you think of Eli and Peyton was a no-brainer first ballot Hall of Famer. Eli does not stack up to Peyton. And so that's why I don't think that he'll get in on the first ballot. Don't know how long it'll take him. A player that that I have thought deserves to go in. He is a 9-time semifinalist, but for whatever reason, we don't vote him in. And that is safety Darren Woodson from the Cowboys, who was part of those 3-time Super Bowl champions, who was the last line of defense and a great, consistently great getting their hopes up, and then they're finalists, which means we're discussing them in the room, and then they continually don't make it.
Well, John, I'm also happy for a guy like, and I know he won't get in, but Richmond Webb, backing, Marino, the left side of Marino for his career. I like to see guys like that just get nominated, John, because they were so valuable to football, so valuable to a guy like Dan Marino's career. So I know he probably won't get in, but as a former offensive lineman, he was incredible. And so I'm glad he's nominated.
Joe, it's interesting you bring him up. Richmond Webb is one of the ones who I'm backing because I think he deserves to be in. He was a 7-time Pro Bowler on great teams, didn't win a Super Bowl, but they worked great offensively. And it's not like Dan Marino was mobile and he was going to complete a lot of passes on the run. So he had to be protected by his linemen. And the best one definitely was Richmond Webb. This is the first time he's been a semifinalist, and he lives here. And I texted him this morning congratulating him. And I said, this is the next step in the process. And we're putting him to the Texas Sports Hall of Fame in February. And so I pull for a lot of these guys. I'd like to see all of them get in because they're definitely Hall of Fame worthy to get this far. Now, you're right. I don't think Richmond will make the cut to the 15 modern era finalists, but at least people are talking about him now.
Absolutely. A massive guy, too, as well. All right, John, let's talk a little football here. I watched the Monday night game. I don't think I've seen a team all year have as much fun, John, as the Houston Texans had on Monday night. They just had a great time. Cowboys are terrible. I get that. But that was a fun game for them.
After coming off a loss, which you led Detroit, maybe the best team in the league, by 16 points at halftime, and you intercepted Jared Goff 5 times, and then you lost 26-23 on a 52-yard field goal with no time left. Sometimes coaches worry about lingering effects, and I think it's probably good they were playing the Cowboys because people here get really excited about the Cowboys, know if they're good or they're bad. Last time they played the Cowboys here in 2018, early in the season, both were good, and the Texans beat them in a primetime game. So even though the Cowboys are a wounded team and a wounded organization, it was a big deal. Texans defense played great again. The offense continues to struggle in the second half, even though it scored its first touchdown in 5 games in the second half. We've been killing them over that. And they had a lot of good performances. Joe Mixon, this was something that came up quite a bit. Joe Mixon, and I have no idea why the Bengals wanted to get rid of him. Last year he had 1,401 yards, rushing and receiving, and 12 touchdowns. But they were going to cut him. And the Texans, D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio, the GM, Caserio done a great job. In fact, I'm writing a column tomorrow on HoustonTexans.com on what a great offseason he had with guys like Joe Mixon, Danielle Hunter, who had a great game at defensive end. And so the Cowboys desperately needed a running back, and they didn't even give Derrick Henry, an agent, a call. Well, Caserio, instead of competing with other teams and driving the price up if he was cut, gave him a 7th-round pick and got him. And then he immediately tore up his contract and gave him a 3-year deal. So
wow.
He was excited to come here. And one reason the Bengals can't win is they can't run the ball. It's interesting because the Giants didn't bring back Saquon Barkley, who's playing great, and they can't run a lick. The Raiders let Josh Jacobs go to Green Bay for money. They can't run a lick. Derrick Henry is running great. Joe Mixon is running great. And all those teams they left are not running as well as they did with them, as you guys well know. So I think there's a lot of good running backs coming out, led by Boise State's Ashton Jennings. And I keep telling people, watch him. I've watched him in 3 games now. Can't get enough of watching him. And the team that gets him, and I hope it's not the Cowboys, was going to be very, very happy. But I think teams are going to change their mind now based on veteran running backs and based on rookies. It's going to be kind of throwback football, which we're seeing in several cities. And it was fun to see Joe Mixon go up there and play as well as he did. And the Texans end up winning by 24. And the stadium was almost devoid of Cowboy fans at the end. It was all Texans fans, and people love hearing that. And that Troy Aikman kept talking about all the Texans fans there, which they thought was pretty cool.
We'll have more with John McClain coming up next here on Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Continuing our conversation with John McClain, HoustonTexans.com is where you can find his work, presented by 12 Stones Crossing Golf Club in Goodlettsville. Visit 12stonesgolfclub.com to book your tee time. Experience golf the 12 Stones way. John joining us now. Yeah, so continuing on that game Monday night, are the Cowboys, is Jerry just in denial now of how bad his football team is?
No, I think what's weird is they know what Cooper Rush can do. He was 4-1 as a starter 2 or 3 seasons ago when Dak Prescott was out. He threw even though the Texans beat him up big time in the second half, he still hung in there. He completes a lot of passes. They know what he can do as a backup. I don't understand why you give a 4th-round pick for Trey Lance, but you're not playing him. This is the time to play him, because if he plays and plays well, you got it on tape, and it's going to be a bad year for teams trying to get quarterbacks, a bad off season. So if Trey Lance played well, a team may say, well, we had him rated high coming out of college, and he looked good. Let's give him a draft choice, and you might get like a 3. But that's not going to happen if you don't play him. So I think they're making a big mistake on that. We all knew they made a huge mistake on their running game. They've been awful at home. Right now, they're on a pace to break the record for average points allowed at home. The previous record of 37-something was by the 1960 Cowboys in their first season. So they're being historically bad at home. And remember when Dak Prescott threw the winning touchdown pass at Pittsburgh and they were 3-3 and looked like they're going to make a run for the division title, and then they've just gone down the toilet for a lot of reasons. Injuries have a lot to do with it, of course, but they were not playing well when Prescott was healthy.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that'll.
Hey, excuse me, something. I got to add something I just thought of, and this was several people told me this that were covering the game. I didn't see it, but in the pregame warmups, when players come out at first, offense or defense, and there's not full teams on the field for warmups, you'll see players going over, taking pictures with fans and doing that. But when the Cowboys were out there, they said that you saw guys like Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs, and CeeDee Lamb over signing autographs and posing for pictures, which is great, but you're supposed to be getting ready for the game when the whole team's out there. And I can't believe Mike Zimmer let it go, the defensive coordinator. Mike McCarthy knows he's gone. And, a guy like Mike Vrabel wouldn't put up with that. Bill Belichick wouldn't put up with that. So the key now is, will Jerry go after a former coach like Belichick or Vrabel? Will he try to get a coordinator, a hot coordinator? Anybody coming in there knows you're going to have Dak Prescott as your quarterback. I've seen people say, well, he should hire Deion Sanders and he can get his son as the quarterback. No, you can't. You're stuck with Dak in that contract.
I know. Is Mike Vrabel's stock as high as we say it is? Like, in reality, do you think that the owners and the teams look at him the way we do?
I think the way that the spending this year out, even though he's an advisor in Cleveland, when you look at head coaching candidates and you think about what Mike did with the Titans and how they were capable of winning almost any game, even though they would lose more than they won, in the end, they were capable of winning big games like that last one at Jacksonville that cost the Jaguars a division title and gave the Texans a division title. And they had nothing to play for. And Mike got it. Jaguars had everything to play for. And so I think, yes, I think his stock is up. Just because he didn't get a job last year didn't mean he was offered one. Also didn't mean he turned somebody down.
Yeah, that's a good point. Talking to John McClain here on the Chase and Big Joe show. John, a team that seems to be peaking right now, playing great football, and of course we saw it on Sunday beating the Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills. What are they doing so well? Because, John, not a lot of people are talking about the Bills right now, but what are they doing so well to make them 9-2?
Well, I'll tell you something very interesting. I'm charting this about the Texans defense for a column I'm writing Friday on HoustonTexans.com. The Texans beat the Bills here, and it was in early October. And Josh Allen completed 30% of his passes, 9 of 30 for 131 yards, and his rating was 56.4. He only was sacked once. He had no interceptions. He just didn't play well, and they haven't lost since. And they almost always beat the Chiefs in the regular season. And then the Chiefs beat them in the playoffs. So right now, that game I just saw drew great ratings, 31 million for an afternoon game. Can you imagine what it would have been had it been Sunday night? And so I think they're destined to play again in the playoffs. And right now, it only looks to me like there's 3 teams capable of winning the Super Bowl, unless somebody is a big surprise. That would be Detroit and Buffalo or Kansas City. I've given up on Baltimore because its defense is not good. And we know how Lamar Jackson plays in the playoffs. And I picked them to win the Super Bowl a second consecutive year. But the Bills and the Chiefs, it looks like, are headed for the championship game. And it looks like Detroit is going to roll over everybody in the NFC. So I think we'll see them play again, and they're going to get more and more attention as they continue to win.
What about the Eagles, John? I mean, they're quietly 8-2, and nobody's really talking about them. That defense is playing really good for them.
It is, and they're taking control of the NFC East over Washington, which has lost the last 2. Now everybody's talking about Denver's Bo Nix going to beat out Jaden Daniels, the early favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year. That remains to be seen because we have so many games left. But there's something about Jalen Hurts and big games, and even though Saquon Barkley is playing great, maybe I don't think it matters where the Lions are playing. If I had to pick a team that was second best in the NFC, it would be Philadelphia. But right now, when I watch them, I just don't see a Super Bowl team that's going to beat Detroit to get there.
Well, John, I'm going to make this prediction right now. Danico Autry has 3 sacks on the season. I think he doubles that on Sunday against his former team. So just look for that.
Well, he was suspended for the first 6 games. He came back for the 7th, needed a game to get ready, and he has been a force in the last 2 games. He should have had credit for another sack when he hit the quarterback, but they called it an interception that he forced. So he's been playing really well. The Texans were missing Will Anderson Jr., cornerback Kamari Lassiter, who's been outstanding, and a starting defensive tackle, Foley Fatukasi, against the Cowboys, and it didn't make a difference. They like to rush Will Anderson Jr., Danielle Hunter, and Danico Autry in all passing situations. And Hunter, according to Next Gen Stats, leads the NFL in pressures by 15. Number 2, Ted Hendrickson. Hendrickson from the Bengals is number 2, and Hunter is coming off a great game against the Cowboys with 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 2 deflections, 3 quarterback hits. And he did all that without Will Anderson playing across from him.
It's going to be interesting for sure on Sunday. John, enjoyed this as always, and we'll talk to you next week.
Chase Big Joe, thank you guys very much, as always.
Awesome. That is John McClain joining us from Houston. HoustonTexans.com is where you can find his work, and obviously timely this week. We'll have Derek Mason, coach of MTSU, coming up next here on Chase and Big Joe. You can join Jared Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Derek Mason at Twin Peaks in Madison this Sunday for the pregame show from 9:30 to 11:30 as they get you set for the Titans Week 12 matchup against the Houston Texans. The pregame show is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Sundeck Nashville, Sloan's Motorcycle ATV, and award-winning Blue Note Juke Joint and Blue Note Crossroads Bourbon. Hour number 2, Chase and Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3, The Game here on this Wednesday. As we do every Wednesday at this time, we say hello to MTSU football coach Derek Mason, who's on the line with us. Coach, how you doing?
Doing well, Chase, Big Joe. How about yourself?
Doing fantastic. I didn't get to talk to you because obviously you were a little busy at the Liberty game, but I did come out to Floyd Stadium and my old stomping grounds. It was good to be back and watch a little football. Wish I had been able to bring you guys a win, but it was certainly great to be back on campus.
Well, man, I'm glad you were there. For us right now, this football team is on the back part of this season, and we're actually getting some guys back. I know Amari Kelly was out. Holden was back for his first game. And we've got some other guys, man, that are starting to get healthy on the back end of the season. So let's see what this week offers.
It's senior day because last home game of the year. It's already
Right.
special. But what do you try to do as a coach to make that even more special for? I know this is your first year with them, but make it more special for those guys that have been so important.
As we've gone, through the year, we've had senior shares, right? And I think, just learning senior stories, are really impactful, for not only the culture of our team, but for where we're trying to go. These seniors have done a lot, in this space, right? I mean, they've had a chance to, figure out what it is to be, NTSU Blue Raider. They've given a lot to this university. They've made their journey, and so we're going to honor them with game balls and a couple of trinkets just to remind them of the journey that they've had. But the biggest thing that we can do for these guys, like I told our football team, was to send these guys out on their last game, in Floyd Stadium with a win, and that's the focus right now.
We're talking MTSU head football coach Derek Mason. Coach, you've been, since I've known you, you got here 2014 at Vandy. You always talk about finish. Let's finish. You got to finish. You got to finish. I know that, the bowl game's out of reach, but there's still pride at play here for your football team of finishing strong. How important is that message now more than ever of finishing strong?
It's a strong message. It's something that, even in our last, or even last week during the bye, we put a huge emphasis on, understanding that, like the way we finish this season will, sort of, kickstart exactly what we start to do in 2025. So, again, it's about these seniors. It's about an opportunity to finish strong. It's about laying the foundation. And believe me, the deeper we dig, the wider the foundation, the higher we go.
Also, New Mexico State rolls in here. I watched the A&M game on Saturday. Although they got beat 38-3, they played A&M really, really tough. What kind of concerns you about New Mexico State rolling in here on Saturday?
Well, it starts with their run game. And for us, it's been an Achilles heel, at times. But this group, man, they've got a duo at running back that are pretty dynamic. Their quarterback can also run the football, and we've had issues at times with running quarterback. So the emphasis has got to be on stopping the run. Defensively, they've been opportunistic the last 2 weeks. But they've had, 4 interceptions, 2 turnovers in the last 2 games per game. And that's something, for us where we have to take care of the football. We've got to find a way to get these guys to third down, and we got to play really good on special teams so we can flip the field.
We're talking to Coach Derek Mason from MTSU. They will have their final home game, not final game, but final home game this week against New Mexico State at Floyd Stadium starting at 1:30. You mentioned earlier of what it's like to be a Blue Raider. Obviously that's something that you have been able to, you and your coaches, establish this year. So how has that kind of evolved of what that means in your identity of your football team? How has that evolved from game one to now?
Well, it's definitely been about resilience, right? We've had to endure injuries. We've had to endure lineup changes. This will be the 11th game of the season, and we haven't had 22 consecutive starters, since we started the season. So that says a lot about, what we've had to endure. But the reality of it is nobody makes excuses. We say to ourselves, it's a next man up mentality. This football team has had to grow through some things. And when you grow, I've said this to this football team: we got to be able to go through it to get to it. And right now, that's exactly what we've done. It's taken us on highs and lows, and we've had to endure some hurdles and hills along the way. But this group is setting culture, right? I mean, you start with year zero. You didn't have a full recruiting class. We had 60 new players. The reality of it is, okay, like there's a lot of learning going on, but in order to stabilize it, you have to continue to talk about the same things every day. And those things are the cement and the glue for how you're building. And that's where we are.
Not only that, but you're playing, I think 11 or 12 true freshmen are getting there, have contributed. And I got to tell you, and you see it, Coach, big fan of Aiden Butts, number 93. That guy just compete. I mean, I'm telling you, Coach, he might not show up in the stat sheet, but that young man from Georgia plays his tail off every single play.
Every play, right? I mean, and he's only continued to get better. Again, when I talk about young, when you say Anthony Bynum, when you say Shakai Woods, when you say, and as I look at Parker Hughes, Jordan Thompson, Aiden Butts, you can go up and down the line, right? We're a group that next year can return 10 of 11 starters, from this season. So what we're focused on right now is to get better. Okay. And I've said that before, but this group continues to learn football, get better. And some of these young guys are making a big impact in their freshman season, and freshmen become sophomores pretty fast.
Coach Derek Mason is with us. Somebody asked me to ask you this the other day, and I've been meaning to do it. Are you still DJing at all?
You know what? I haven't had as much time like this season, and rightfully so.
Sure.
You got to keep the main thing the main thing. I get home. I get home a little later, just due to the simple fact that we're looking at how to put these guys in the best possible position for success. But it's still my passion. It's the thing that I do when I do get a free Sunday. Last week, I actually got on the ones and twos a couple of times. So
yes,
it was good to get on the turntables. But I just haven't had a chance to do it a ton this year.
Okay, I was just curious because that was one of my favorite things about you, that you had that as a hobby. So I had to bring that up for sure. Coach, good luck this weekend. Looking forward to it, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Chase. Big Joe. See you soon. I mean, you're always at the game, so I'll see you on Saturday.
You got it, Coach. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Coach Derek Mason.
Right, let's go Blue.
Let's go Blue. Coach Derek Mason, MTSU joining us. And again, they will be taking on New Mexico State this Saturday at Floyd Stadium with the kickoff at 1:30. But, of course, you can listen on 93.3 Totally Hits, Totally Nashville, starting at, 12 o'clock.
12, high noon,
with
baby.
the pregame show. And hear all that coverage. It's presented by Sloan's Motorcycle ATV. We'll get back into some Titans, some other things coming up next. Chase and Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
A female deer.
A drop of golden sun.
Oh, look at you. Nice editing there.
I call myself.
That's a great episode.
Bart
gets the elephant.
So, a needle pulling thread.
And now we got the sound of music just taking over. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game here on this Wednesday. Tune in to 94.9 The Fan tonight as Vanderbilt women's basketball is in action at Memorial Gym, taking on Hampton. Tip-off at 6:30 pregame with our man Jake Lyman at 6:15. Coverage is also available on the Game Nashville app and on thegamenashville.com. Interesting. I guess I saw Adam Schefter tweet this.
Yeah.
Has I'm not going to say Eddie started it, but Deion I guess started it. But Deion Sanders, Eddie George, these guys, former players, becoming head coaches. There might be another one on the rise.
So word has it that Ray Lewis is the leading candidate for the Florida Atlantic job. They just fired Tom Herman the other day, and to take over. Who was the one? Was it Ed Reed that was going to take over Bethune-Cookman?
Yeah.
And he did some, his due diligence and found out that it was a complete disaster.
Yep.
And said, I'm done. FAU's not like that, obviously.
FAU is a good job.
But I think these coaches see this as, love of the game, obviously, to do all that.
Yeah.
And somebody back in football. Plus, you get paid a fortune. I'm not
Yeah.
saying these guys need the money. But we're going to have Mike Organ on tomorrow. You're out of town tomorrow, but Mike's going to join us. And Mike has been with Eddie the last 2 years over there. And if I'm a G5 school, I'm coming after Eddie George.
Yeah.
I see why Ray Lewis is a candidate at FAU, because we're talking about it. Had it been Chase McCabe, the leading candidate, we're not talking about it. But Ray Lewis, we're talking about it. Eddie George will move to the next level. He's doing a great job. Now, does he want to? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But still.
The thing is, I know he loves Nashville. But,
Right.
if he wants to move up, he certainly could. You bring up FAU. So I remember when I was my last year at Middle, I think it was my last year at Middle, they played FAU, and Howard Schellenberger was still the coach with Rusty Smith.
That's right.
As the quarterback. That may not have been my last year, but while I was there with Rusty Smith as the quarterback, and then Lane Kiffin's been there. That's been a good either kind of like into your career or kind of stepping stone job.
Right. Yeah.
They
had that bonehead Willie Taggart was there. He was terrible.
Yeah, he was there.
Fired.
Reassigned,
I'm sure.
Reassigned.
Reassigned. But it's good for them. But look, like a Sunbelt school, a legitimate next step for like an Eddie, like a Southern Miss or a Troy or a South Alabama. Why not?
Yeah. I'd be curious. I would be curious if he would want to do that.
Yeah. That's no knock on where you are.
No.
If you're at Tennessee Tech, Tennessee State, UT Martin, or wherever, Chattanooga, it doesn't matter. Go to the next level.
No, but like and I would put TSU in this category, but like the smart programs know that if you get a good coach, he's probably not going to be there very long. And that's a compliment to you.
That's right.
It's like that you put him in that position. Like it's not a slap in the face or anything. It's just, you kind of have to know that's what you are. And, like Western Kentucky, for instance, they had a string of coaches come through there that they weren't there very long, but they looked at it as, okay, that's good for us. Good for recruiting, because these guys want to come here, and then look where they go and the success that they have.
Well, they had Taggart, who's actually pretty good when he was there. Then they had Petrino.
Yep.
Jeff Brom.
Yep.
And now they got, is it Tyson Helton? Who's there now?
I feel like you missed one.
I think I did too.
I think there was another one in there too.
Taggart. David Elson, Taggart.
Petrino. I feel like there was somebody between Taggart and Petrino.
It would have been the 2013 season. And I don't recall right now.
I'm looking this up. Don't you worry. Maybe we have it. Who knows? Taggart, Petrino, Brom, Mike Sanford.
Mike Sanford. Okay, yeah. After Brom.
Yeah, and then Tyson Helton.
Yeah. So you understand that guys are going to bounce out of there, and it happens, and you go out and find the next one. And some schools are reluctant to do that. They want you to sign an 8, 9, 10-year contract. and lock you down. Like, didn't Signetti at Indiana just sign an 8-year deal?
Maybe.
I think he just they like
yeah, he
another,
signed a big deal at Indiana.
yeah, an extension, and good for him because 10-0 in Indiana ain't going to happen every other year. It's just not going to do that with the portal now.
You never know, Joe. I think I was reading somewhere he had 44 transfer students from JMU, where he was at previously, join him at Indiana this season.
Hey, if it's legal, you can do it. Do it. I see no problem with it. When Middle played UTEP, he has Scotty Walden was the Austin P football coach last year. He took, I think there were 9 on the 2 deep on offense that came from Austin P. So it just, it takes over and guys leave and go. And I get it's the way football is now.
I just, one of my favorite parts of this now is the coaching carousel and the domino effect that it has. Like, that there's always one job that opens up that nobody thought was going to open up, and then it just changes everything.
Yeah, right.
Like,
it does.
The more I think about it, the more I think LSU might be open because Brian Kelly's going to try and get out and go back north.
He'd be smart too.
Yeah, he's not an SEC coach. He's just not.
Got them to
And
the
he's overrated.
championship. What, last year? 2 years ago? 2 years ago.
On the shoulders of Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Not his fault.
Did they
Also,
make the championship game?
yeah, they get beat by Georgia
Georgia.
in 22.
Oh,
Yep.
that's right.
So here's something I got with stats, which drives me crazy. So Will Levis had a 98-yard touchdown pass on Sunday. And there are some people on the radio who say, well, if you take that 98 yards out, he only had 100 and blah, blah. You can't do that.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Stop doing that. Like when Derrick
It
Henry
was
had
a
the
great play. Like, what are we
99-yard
doing?
run. Like, well, if you take that out, he only had 47 yards rushing.
Let's take a great play
Right. You
that
can't
they
take it out.
made out just to fit your narrative.
Yeah, it's so stupid. Stop doing that. Will Levis had a 98-yard touchdown pass on Sunday. Do not take that away from him.
No.
So stop it.
Will Levis has played decently the last 2 games.
Open up. They go to Houston on Sunday. Nothing to worry about, right?
Open up the playbook.
Let it
I
go.
agree.
Fling it down the field. Let it go. Oh, let it have fun with all this stuff. You have nothing to lose. And I think they're slowly embracing that. Now, scoring 13 points isn't the way to do that. But again, there's a lot that goes into that as well. But at the same time, I would just, but don't take the yards away from him. Just don't do that. It's not fair. Not at all.
Jared just said Brian Kelly's buyout $61 million.
He ain't going anywhere.
So if he were to, like, let's say Michigan opens up, Michigan would have to pay that, right?
No. Michigan, a lot of things are offsetting salary. Like when Butch Jones went to Alabama, right? Tennessee still owed him millions.
Yeah.
Whatever Alabama pays you is deducted from that. You know what Alabama paid him?
Like $30.
$50,000.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have paid him a damn dime. So it offsets what they want to do.
Right.
Like
So,
Norville's owed tens and tens of millions, but college football did this to
but
themselves.
LSU has to let him out of the contract, right? So there has to be some incentive for them to let him out of the contract.
No, fire me. Give me my money. Jimbo got fired.
Right.
Give me my money.
No. But I'm saying, like, if they're at the end of the year, it's like, hey, it was a down year, but we're good. Everything's fine. They don't want to fire him. They want to keep him.
Yeah.
And Michigan comes along and says, hey, we want to hire you. And he wants to go to Michigan. Like, he has to be let out of the contract for him to do that.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
LSU is going to be like, sure, we'll do that, but what do we get?
Exactly.
And
Yep.
so Michigan would probably have to, or a booster would have to cut a check.
Why would
That's what-
Michigan want him?
I don't know. I'm just using them as an example.
Yeah.
But I mean, that makes the most sense.
Now, what's the one with Norvell? If he sticks out another year, his 20 million comes off of that.
Maybe.
Something weird.
Here's what I think happens there. And we'll get to Tom Luganbill and ask him some of this stuff too. Here's what I think happens there. Dion, you want to come home? Yeah. All right, cool. And then they do it. Dion, you want to come home? No. Going to the NFL? And they might stick another year. I think
Good.
it's all contingent on if they can get Dion.
That's right. I'm with
That's
you on that.
probably what it is. All right, coming up next, we will talk to college football analyst Tom Luganbill from ESPN, get his thoughts on this and much more. Chasing Big Joe, presented by the Omni Nashville Hotel, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game on this Wednesday, talking some college football. The rankings came out last night, the updated bracket. Let's say hello to Tom Luginbill from ESPN, who joins us now. Tom, good morning. How you doing?
I'm great, guys. How are you?
We're great. Thanks so much for doing this. So when you we're all going through this together for the first time. We've been used to 4 teams for 10 years, and now we got 12, and you got conference champions getting automatic bids and all those things. As you've kind of watched this unfold the last few weeks, do you feel like they're going to get this right, or with the caveat of a group of 5 team making it and conference champions getting, automatic seeds, that there's still going to be good teams left out and people are going to complain about it?
Oh, of course there's going to be good teams left out. I think it's even more difficult to decipher teams, 13 through 19 than it is 1 through 10, because the rosters start thinning out the further down the rung you go. And it's what is the difference between, an SMU, maybe let's just say a BYU and Colorado right now? Like, what's the difference between those style of teams? Whereas I think you can see somewhat of a fair, clear difference between Georgia when they're playing at a high level, on Ohio State and Oregon at a high level, than those teams in the teens. So this is what we all wanted, though. I think it's been super positive. It's given us the opportunity to discuss teams and break down teams that are in contention each and every week in the month of November that we would have never discussed before. And it's going to make for, I think, a final run of the last 2 to 3 weeks here really, really interesting, because it's the eye test component coupled with the metrics and the data points that they're going to have to use to come up with who's going to make this thing. I think the margin of error is razor thin.
What is your view of Tennessee? Obviously, that's the big team in this market. They lose to Georgia. They have that bad loss to Arkansas. That's the only thing against them right now. Nico hasn't really played to the potential that I think he can, but he's a young quarterback, so he might develop. But what is your view on Tennessee?
Well, I think they're very fortunate after seeing last night's release of the playoff. I mean, if you consider what this committee did to Georgia after losing on the road to Ole Miss, and then you look at what they did to Tennessee, losing on the road to Georgia, nowhere near as bad. I mean, they tumbled Georgia 10 spots. They only tumbled Tennessee 4. So I think it keeps Tennessee in the hunt. What Tennessee has to be very, very careful of with where they are right now as it relates to, let's just say, Boise State right behind them, is we got to remember that the top 5 seeds are the top conference champions, not Power 4 conference champions, top ranked conference champions. So if we were to just say that hypothetically, Oregon wins the Big Ten, Miami wins the ACC, Texas wins the SEC, and let's just say BYU wins the Big 12. Well, if that were to occur, even though BYU sits behind right now Tennessee, they would get the nod and bump up as a conference champ, and it would bump Tennessee out. So the Volunteers need to keep winning, and they also need to pay close attention to what's happening with Boise State and whoever the Big 12 champion is.
Talking to Tom Luginbill on the Chasing Big Joe show. Tom, thanks for doing this today. We appreciate you doing it. Let's pay attention to the Indiana-Ohio State game on Saturday. Ohio State's going to be a big favorite and all that. What happens if Indiana beats Ohio State to this ranking?
Well, it's a great question. I think, there's so much more pressure on Ohio State than there is on Indiana in this one. And not just to beat Indiana, but there's pressure on Ryan Day in this program after their offseason of putting together what they consider to be a national championship roster. You can't lose to Indiana. Now, that would give them 2 losses with the loss to Oregon as well. Do I think that they would fall all the way out? I don't believe that, but I also believe that the Big Ten is very, very top-heavy. If you look at the schedules of Penn State and Indiana, Ohio State and Oregon, it is not overly strong because the conference isn't overly strong. And so I think branding and eye test has played a huge role there. I also think the eye test has helped Indiana because their schedule and all of those sorts of things to this point has been mediocre at best, but how they have played, how dominant they have won, the point differential is almost 33 points a game with Indiana. The eye test has paid dividends. So I don't think it would crush Ohio State. I don't think it would be good. Would it put them in danger of being left out? I don't think so. But what it would do is then potentially bump out another 2-loss SEC team that otherwise would have a chance to be in.
Oh, I love the chaos. Tom, you call on the ACC each week. This SMU team, interesting. I mean, it's every week I watch and I see the highlights of this team. They just keep winning. What are their chances, you think, of making an impact if they get into this Final 12?
Well, they're a handful, guys. I've had them 4 times, and they have done a remarkable job of preparing for this season in the transfer portal by going up and beefing up the trenches with Power 5 caliber players that were not on the roster the year before. Quarterback play has been exceptional. They can run the football. They can stop the run. They don't beat themselves, and they have scored on defense and scored on special teams. That's kind of their recipe. Now, they're also the only team in the country that has 7 Power 4 wins. Nobody talks about that. You know, their loss is to a ranked BYU by 3 points. They are good enough to play with anybody. The question you have to ask yourself is, let's just say, for example, let's say that Texas takes on Alabama in the SEC championship game, or they take on Ole Miss, or they take on Georgia. And in the ACC championship game, you've got Miami and SMU. Well, if Georgia, Alabama, or Ole Miss were to lose in the SEC championship game, they'd have 3 losses. But the loser of the Miami-SMU game would only have 2. What do you do as a committee member? I think you try to reward both teams for having made the conference championship. That shouldn't be a detriment. But you're going to have one team who will have lost the game that will have 1 less loss than the SEC loser of the SEC championship game would. And what would the committee do?
It's a great question. That is for sure. Tom Luginbill is with us from ESPN. You know, we always talk about getting hot at the right time. Do you think Colorado is getting hot at the right time?
I think Colorado is getting hot at the right time, and for a couple of reasons. And I keep saying this to everybody. I ask everybody this question. I'm having so much fun with this. I go around and I ask everybody, hey, do you know who Robert Livingston is? And everybody's like, who? Like, who? What? I'm like, yeah, Robert Livingston. Do you know who he is? No, exactly. Nobody knows who he is. And he should probably win the Broyles Award. He's the defensive coordinator at Colorado. Nobody has any idea who he is. Nobody even cared that he was hired. And he has almost a 10-point reduction on defense in point differential from last year to this year. And so we can talk all we want about Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter and the offense and them being improved in the offensive line, which they are. They're not where they want to be, and they still can't run the football the way they'd like to, but they're improved. But the defensive side of the football for Colorado deserves a ton of credit and a ton of recognition. And I think that Colorado has benefited from not only their individual week in and week out improvement, but what everybody projected the Big 12 to be has been the exact opposite. The Big 12 has crumbled under its own weight. If you looked at Colorado's schedule in August and you looked at their last 4 games on the schedule, all 4 teams were ranked in the AP preseason top 25.
Wow.
And all of them had disappointed. So they've benefited from the conference around them crumbling, and they're taking advantage of it.
Wow, I love the cast. What's hotter, though, Tom, Colorado or Eastern Kentucky?
I don't know, man. EKU, the Colonels, 3 in a row, 2 against top 15 ranked opponents, down 24-7 last week against Austin P. Didn't mean to say that out loud. That's what we used to call them in Richmond. And you come back and you win it in overtime. But I'll tell you a team that might be hotter than the Colonels and hotter than Colorado, and nobody wants to play them. And I think everybody's very excited that they're not going to be in consideration for the college football playoff, and that's the South Carolina Gamecocks.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Nobody wants to play them.
You know, Tom, he was the guy that on the show, like, first coach fired this year, Shane Beamer, and no, not even close.
Not even close. And by the way, just another one to keep an eye on. Ole Miss needs to be very, very careful this week. They're on the road in the swamp against Florida who has improved vastly, and the quarterback is back, and that could be a huge gotcha game for Ole Miss coming off of a bye weekend.
Oh, yes.
How is Vanderbilt viewed after this year beating Alabama?
Well, right now they are currently the biggest win Texas has on their entire schedule. Who would have ever said that? Who would have ever? The best win on Texas' schedule is the Vanderbilt win on the road.
That's something. Gosh, oh
It's
my.
unbelievable, right?
Right.
That is crazy to think about. Wow. Tom, really enjoyed this. Thanks so much for doing this today, and we definitely need to do it again soon.
Sounds good, guys. I appreciate you having me. Have a good rest of the week.
You too. Tom Luganbill joining us here on the show from ESPN. Really good stuff there. Love talking college ball.
Let that sink in.
Vanderbilt is the biggest win that Texas has on their schedule.
I don't
and
know.
they barely beat it. It was a 3-point game.
I add nothing to that. That's unbelievable.
Oh, man. Hey, shout out to Clark Lee and the Commodores for doing what they have done this year.
Amen.
See what they can continue to do moving forward. Coming up next, we'll tell you what day it is and celebrity birthdays here on Chasing Big Joe, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Hey, tune in to Stillman & Company today from 2 to 6 for your chance to win Jelly Roll tickets for his performance at Bridgestone Arena on Tuesday, November 26th. Jelly Roll is supplied by Chiba Hut Subs, serving up dank food and chill vibes, now open in Donaldson. CMA Awards tonight, so Jelly
Can't
Roll
wait,
will be
man.
there.
Got the after party tonight. I'll have a full report tomorrow on,
I cannot wait for that.
on the show.
Now I will not be on the show tomorrow.
Correct.
But the greatest writer in Nashville history,
Yes.
Mike Organ's going to be. On the
We'll
show,
fill in tomorrow. We have a good
Rayon
time
City's
tomorrow.
own.
Rayon City Man of the Year, 3 years running. So we'll have an.
Does
epic
he get
night.
invited to the after party?
Does not.
Okay.
No, he needs to stay away. He gets invited on only special occasions when you aren't going to be here. He gets to fill in, and that's it.
Now you are also, if I read this correctly, going to open for Sammy Kershaw at his event tonight, right?
And Colin Ray.
And Colin Ray.
Yeah,
Wow,
so
that's
over
going to be
at
awesome.
the
Looking
Nashville
forward to that.
Palace.
Is Dr. Crane coming?
He is. Dr. Cranes works the door.
Oh, nice.
Checks IDs, $2 cover charge.
I'll leave around 7 and everybody will get in because I'll be here producing the game.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Remember, cover charge, $2 for them, $2 for you.
I was going to do
That paid
10, 5 and 5.
That paid my rent for many years.
What's the cover? It's $4. It says 2. Yeah, well,
Give
inflation.
me a 5.
With that, let's get to what day is it and celebrity birthdays.
All right, gentlemen. First on the list, we have Africa Industrialization Day. Beautiful day as well. There's that. Future Teachers of America Day. So those that want to be teachers,
Nice.
get on out there and learn. Geographic Information Systems Day. So, that. Global Organized. Oh, this is for you, Chase. Globally Organized Hug a Runner Day.
Oh,
So
nice.
Go hug a runner.
Love hugs. Not much of a runner.
You can't be trying to get a hug. You chase them.
Yeah, once they're done with their, race, you just hug them at the finish line. Let's see. Name your personalized computer day. So it's like naming a car.
Yeah.
National Absurdity Day. So you have that.
That's every day.
National Educational Support Professionals Day. That's a long one.
She said.
National Peanut Butter Fudge Day. That's next.
Yes.
Peanut butter fudge.
Yep.
National Zen Fondle Day. So
Excuse me?
Excuse me.
Zen Fondle. It's a type of wine.
Fondle?
Fundel.
Zinfandel?
Zinfandel, Zinfondle. I don't know. I'm just reading what's on the screen. I mean,
Yes.
I'm just reading it.
God bless you.
Oh, my.
It's a type of wine.
Zinfandel.
Zinfandel. I've never heard of it.
Zinfandel.
Never heard of it before. I mean,
Oh my God. I'm writing a new book with a detective called Zen Fondle.
put me on the spectrum. I don't know. We also have World Children's Day next. And yeah, that's about it. We have one that I won't name. So
All right, that's okay.
Yes.
You named enough.
You're the best. We got to get you out of the house. more.
Zinfandel.
Maybe Zen Fondle eats mortars. Maybe.
I sound like Ralph from The Simpsons.
Oh, man, you are. I
Oh.
can't wait to see the cut up of that later on. All right, time for celebrity birthdays. Got to get these within two. Our first birthday, the legend himself, Joe Walsh. How old is Joe Walsh?
77.
84.
77 exactly. Well done, Chaser. Next up, the incomparable, beautiful Bo Derek.
What did Bo Derek do?
She was in the movie 10. She was also Tommy Callahan's stepmom.
That's right. 67.
64.
68. Chase up 3-0. Oh my gosh. All right.
Zinfandel.
Comedian Joel McHale from Community.
48.
44.
53. Dirks Bentley. How old is Dirks Bentley?
50.
44.
48. Chase up 4-0. We're going to celebrate with this with some nice wine afterwards. Norman Greenbaum sings Spirit in the Sky.
Yeah. Norman Greenbaum, I'm going to say 78.
82.
82 exactly.
Nice.
Dr. Crane. It's now 4-2 Chaser.
Good job, Mr. Fondle.
Rapper Mike D of the Beastie Boys.
57.
60.
59. 4-3. Just like that, you're back in it. Country singer Josh Turner.
Really deep voice on that one.
He does.
44.
He sings the Long Black Train, right?
He does.
He does.
49.
47. We're tied at 4. Go down here.
No, I said 44. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, he got it.
I
Right?
know. Yeah.
Okay.
Numbers are tough. It's all right.
They are. Joe Biden, the U.S. president. How old is President Biden today?
83.
82.
82 exactly. Dr. Crane's up six unanswered. Mark Gastineau. How old is Mark Gastineau from the New York Sack Exchange?
Guess no. 58.
60.
He is 68. By the way, Mount Juliet head football coach Trey Perry wants you to know that Zen Fondle is awesome. So thanks, Coach, for listening in every day. Joey Galloway. How old is Joey Galloway? Chris Sanders' best friend.
Yeah. 51.
55.
Oh, 53. That's a push. Carlos Boozer.
Booze. 47.
42.
43. Dr. Crane's up 7-4. You know who else is a boozer? Mr. Plow. JD Drew. How old is JD Drew?
46.
60.
A 49. Last one, Ray Finkel. Sean Young, Bert, the actress. Sean Young, who played Ray Finkel. How old is Ray Finkel? You know who Ray Finkel is, I hope.
Yeah, I know the name.
It's from Ace Ventura.
Yeah.
Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel.
59.
55.
65. With that, Dr. Crane, you win 7-4. Proud of you, buddy.
Congratulations, Dr. Crane.
Thank you.
Good
I'm going to
job.
celebrate with some Zen Fond.
Oh, my gosh.
Please do. That is going to do it for.
Oh, my goodness. Look, we love to have fun, and thank you all for joining us. To our guys out there, if you're struggling, going through some things, look, on your cell phone, you dial 988. You can text 988, or you can contact us. Before you do anything, please reach out, talk to us, talk to someone about what you're going through. As we said all the time, God has you on this earth for a specific purpose. It's your journey. Let me tell you what, your journey is beautiful. You might have some dark clouds right now, but it's going to move out for sunshine. Trust me on this. Know that we love you, and if something happened, you'll be tremendously missed. Please know that.
JD in Nashville says Zen Fondle is up there with Skiatika. Very well done, Dr. Crane. That'll do it for us. DVD coming up next, 1025.